Good morning. Well, this is Ivan Amara. All your ears are sick, I know. Well, see, now after I make this video, I gotta go to the bank and I gotta get my direct deposit bank form because this is my due date for my welfare back, right? I have to bring my information to the office. I already brought all my other missing information, but yeah. I made coffee. I'm gonna go upstairs and get some coffee. Let's see. Your CFL players are sick, I know. I guarantee all you NFL players, I didn't like, even though like us American players are a bit better than you guys. I didn't know it was that bad in the CFL. Yeah, that's how bad it is, guys. The CFL. In other words, the CFL in Canada is pretty much like the American Football League. Even though it's Canadian football, the CFL, because they have their bias, they're blinded by the American talent. They think they're doing the league a service by promoting the American players, the star American players in the Canadian Football League. That's how they're going. They're going to grow the league. I know why they do that, because they're blinded by the American talent. They think because the American players are a bit more talented than the Canadian players, and they put on more of a show, it's more entertaining football, which is true, obviously. They think that's how they grow the brand. Whereas I beg to differ. I think you grow the Canadian Football League by promoting the Canadian brand. Obviously. And the CFL knows the Canadian players are more valuable, but they don't want to take that risk. It's a risky. Yeah, Ivan, like, we can easily get rid of the American guys, but if we get rid of the American guys, we just have Canadian players. They think it's risky because they're scared of the dip in quality. Obviously, like, Ivan will not be as quality football. Yeah, but it's still quality football. Yeah, it's amazing quality football, Ivan, but the quality will down. I'm saying. Yeah, the quality will down a little bit. It won't really make that much of a difference, but your league will make more money. Because these Canadian fans up here, they don't really care about these American guys, man. They don't even know who they even are. Yeah, man, they don't care about these guys. I know what you're saying, yeah. Ivan, most of your best players in Canada who get drafted are not stars. Oh, man. Most of them, a good chunk of them, get released, or they end up on a practice roster, obviously, or they play special teams, or they'll get like quite a bit of reps. A lot of Canadian players drafted will get like some reps here and there in some games, but they give the majority of the reps to the American guys, because the CFL is blinded by the American talent, unfortunately, right? Ivan, the reason why we do that is because the Americans have a little bit of the edge in talent over the best Canadian players in Canada. Yeah, but they may have a little bit of the edge over the Canadian players in Canada, but is it by a lot? No, it's not by a lot, but they're a bit better than you guys. Yeah, but like, no one up here really cares about these guys, man. That's the truth, man. All these fans in Canada don't really care that much about these American players. They don't really care about them. Yeah. They don't care about these guys. Yeah. Yeah. They're just guys who come up here. I'm saying they play and they put on a show. But the fans love them and everything. But yeah, even though I love these American athletes, they put on more of a show. I don't really know who they are. I don't know where they came from. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, when they become CFL stars, they know their names and everything, and they love them. But they can't relate to them because they're American players. They didn't see them play NCAA. Whereas the Canadian players, a lot of the Canadian fans, the Canadian football fans know them. They watch CIS, you know what I'm saying? They know they got drafted. They know a lot about these Canadian players. They can, and because they're Canadian, they can relate to them more because they have the Canadian bias, obviously. Whereas the American players, they can't really relate to them, obviously. And don't forget, the Canadian fans up in Canada, even though they know the American players coming to Canada have the edge over the best Canadian players, they know these guys are you Americans NFL rejects. That's why they don't really care about these guys. But the CFL, why do we know that? But like they're a bit more talented, and yeah, you're blinded. I know CFL. You're blinded by your bias towards the edge with the American talent. You're blind, guys. That's why you got to get rid of these guys, man. Because you guys are blinded by the American talent, and you have a bias towards the Americans in our fucking league, and you underestimate the Canadian talent, CFL. You underestimate the Canadian talent, which is sad, man. In the fucking Canadian Football League, it's ridiculous. Yeah, man. All you NFL players, so that's why you Canadians up north don't really respect the American players who come here. No, we respect them, obviously. They become they become CFL stars and everything. The fans respect them. They love them and everything. But they know they're NFL rejects. That's I know what I'm saying. They're American. They don't you know what I'm saying, they can't really they don't really care that much about these guys, man. And CFL's trying their very best to promote all these American quarterbacks and receivers who come up here in the league. And you notice how there's been minimal growth. They promote them on the TSN promo thing on television, on the games, and everything. And who knows how a lot of these Canadian fans up north in Canada, they don't really care that much about these guys, man. They may be a bit more talented, but no one really tuning in. No one cares. Like I'm saying, is that right in your word, Ivan? That's true. I was saying, yeah, I agree. Geez, I know. So all the NFL players, I'm like, why will the league never do that? Because the league, the CFL is blinded by their bias towards the edge of the American talent. Obviously, they have a bias, and they're scared of the drop in quality. Yeah, Ivan, we know the Canadian players are more valuable here to the fans. Yes, but if like we get rid of the American players, the quality goes. We're not going to get as good quality football. We want the CFL to almost be as good as the NFL. I'm like, yeah, guys, you're never going to be the NFL. This league will never be the NFL. Stop trying to be the NFL. You're never going to be the NFL. It's never going to happen. I'm saying. Because the CFL is actually all you NFL players, I recommend you watch some CFL highlights. The CFL is very, very high quality football. Almost as good as your NFL. Not as good as your NFL, but it's almost as good as your NFL. Because you have the American players who come here, they put on a show, obviously, and the fans love them. Obviously. And the CFL is scared that if they get rid of the American players, they're scared of the dip in quality. Because they underestimate the Canadian talent. Yeah, you guys in the CFL, you underestimate the Canadian talent. You think Canadian players are just not as good. You guys, I'm sorry, man. You Canadian players are just not as good as the American players. Yeah, but guys, be honest, man. I'm talking to CFL. Is there really that much of a difference with the American players who come with the Canadian players in most cases? There's not that much of a difference. Like, I've seen the games. The star Canadian players are just as good as all these American players in the CFL. Some of them are even outshining them. They're even better than a lot of these American guys. Yeah, they are, I think, but in most cases, the American players have a bit of the edge. Yeah, they have a bit of the edge because they have better training in NCAA than the best CIS college stars who got drafted. But it won't really make that much of a difference, guys. It'll be maybe a fight. Yeah, Ivan, like, it won't make that much of a difference, but there'll be a little bit of a drop in quality. Yeah, but there'll be a little bit of a drop in quality, but the league value will go up. You're going to make more money, man. Yeah. Because they're blinded by the quality. The CFL thinks, okay, if the league dips in quality, the fans in Canada won't be as interested. No, man. Even though the league will dip in quality, if you promote these Canadian guys, the best Canadian players in Canada, More people in Canada will tune in, man. And you know, yeah, we know that, but it's risky. We don't want to take that risk because we don't want the quality. Yeah, you're blinded by the American talent guys, and you think because the American players have a bit of the edge of the Canadian players up here in Canada, in most cases, right? Not all the time, in most cases, that's how you grow the league. So you want to grow the Canadian Football League in Canada by promoting the Canadian the American talent up here. That's how you grow the Canadian Football League. I and that's how we grow. I beg to differ, man. I think the best way to grow the Canadian Football League is by promoting the Canadian talent. That's how you grow the league. That's how you grow the league. Yeah. Why do the Canadian athletes look down? All the African players, Ivan, do the Canadians and the Americans and the CFL look down on each other? They both look down on each other a little bit. And all the NFL guys say, Ivan, what do you mean? Okay, the American players who come to the CFL, obviously, because on average they're a bit more talented than the Canadian players, they look down the Canadian players as like worse players playing up here, and they're not as good as us. Obviously, there's not that much of a difference, but on average they're a bit better in most cases. But there are some Canadian stars who are even better than some of the CFL stars in the CFL. But in most cases, the American guys have the edge. So because the Americans who come up here who play in the CFL or CFL stars are a bit better than the Canadian players, they look down on the Canadian players a little bit, obviously. But the Canadian players also look down on the American players too. But yeah, but Ivan knows all the American players. Yeah, but why would the Canadian players in Canada look down on the American players if the American players on average are all stars up here and they have the edge over the Canadian players? Because even though they have the edge over the Canadian players, the Canadian players who are playing in the CFL are actually the best players up here in Canada. Whereas, and they know, even though these American guys have the edge over them in talent, they know they're your NFL rejects, so they look down on them a little bit too. So they both look down on each other. You guys get the picture? They respect them and everything if they're amazing stars, but they know they're your NFL rejects. And so all the NFL guys said, but that's actually funny. I said, yeah, they both kind of look down at each other up here. It's actually funny. Yeah, the Americans, they come up here, yeah, like we're a bit better than all these Canadian players. In most cases, they're a bit better, obviously. And we're all the CFL stars up here, and all the Canadians up here are like, yeah, even though these guys on average are a bit better than us, in most cases, you know what I'm saying? Like, we're actually the best players in Canada, and the fans love us more. We're more valuable up here, and even though these guys are a little bit better than us, these American guys who come here are all the NFL rejects. So they look down on them a little bit too. Like, so both the Canadian and the Americans, they kind of look down on each other in Canada, right? It's actually funny. All the American players live, and that's funny, I know. That's funny. Yeah. Yeah. Wait for it, am I right, Ivan? That's true. You're a genius, I know. You know what I'm saying? All the American players live, that's actually funny, man. They actually both look down on each other. Yeah, they do. Even the Canadians look down on the American athletes. Yeah, why would you Canadians look down on the American athletes if they're a bit better than them? Because they know, even though these guys in America who play in Canada are a bit better than the Canadian players, they know they're not the best players in America, and they're your NFL rejects. So they also look down on them. Yeah, these guys are all rejects from the NFL who just come up here with the fans, and yeah. So they kind of both look down on each other a little bit, obviously. And the Canadian players who play in the CFL, they actually are the best players in Canada, man. It's like all you guys playing in the NFL are the best NCAA athletes. All the Canadian players playing in the CFL are the best Canadian college athletes who got drafted. Whereas the American players who come up here, they may be a bit better in most cases. They're not the best talent in America. They're your NFL rejects. That's why they both look down at each other a little bit, right? Your younger brother even told me that. Yeah, he told me that, yeah. Yeah, the American players look down on us a little bit, I'm saying, because we're Canadian and they're a bit better than us. But, like, we also look down on them a little bit, too, because, like, we know we're the best players in Canada and the fans love us. The fans, you know what I'm saying? And they're all rejects from the NFL. Yeah, the Canadian athletes in Canada know the Americans who come up here are all your NFL rejects guys. That's why a lot of fans up here in Canada, they don't really care that much about these guys. They don't see the American players as valuable as the Canadian players. Does that make sense, NFL players? Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. Yeah, that's why the Canadians up here don't really care that much about these guys, man. I don't mean to be an asshole, all you Americans. That's just a true argument. Such a fucking thing. Well, you American put us Canadian players down too, man. Up here in Canada. Yeah, we do, Ivan. Yeah, you do. You put us Canadian players down too, right up here in Canada, right? Yeah. My coffee soon, guys. Ivan, seriously, if you were a CFL commissioner, this is what you would do. Yes. You got to use Ivan as name new CFL commissioner, and then I sit down with the CFL committee. Okay, Ivan, how do you want to grow this league? I'm like, okay. I'm like, I don't mean to be rude. I don't mean to be an asshole. You guys are gonna think I'm crazy. Okay, Ivan, what do you want to do to grow the league? Okay, I'm like, get rid of the American talent in this league. You have to get rid of it, and know what I'm saying? Yeah. I'm like, you've been trying to grow the Canadian Football League with the American talent. It's not working. You got to make some changes. You know what I'm saying? Why? What is your plan? We got to grow grow this league. You got to promote the Canadian Football League with the best Canadian talent playing in Canada, not the American talent playing up here. No, Ivan, are you crazy? They're all laughing. You know what I'm saying? Are you crazy? You want us to get rid of the American talent in the CFL league? The quality will go down, and that's a bad idea. I mean, that's not good. No, guys, I don't do it, man. You got to make this change, but you have to get rid of the American talent. You've been trying to promote the heck out of all these CFL stars, American players. It's not working. Ivan, it's not because of that. It's just because the fans. You know what I'm saying? Ivan, we can make it work. We can promote these guys. Look, man, you guys have been trying your best to promote these guys for years. And the fans in Canada are not resonating with these guys because they can't relate to them. They're American. And they may be putting on a show and everything, but even then, the fans in Canada don't really care about these guys, man, because they're American and they're rejects from the NFL. No one really cares about these guys up here, man. I mean, I don't even be an asshole. It's just the truth, right? Yeah. Ivan, the American talent is a better quality than Canadian talent. Yes, it is, but not by much. It doesn't really make that much of a difference. Ivan, it doesn't make that much of a difference, but the quality will dip a little bit. Yeah, guys, that's why you got to get rid of these American players. You're blinded by by the American talent. You're blind, obviously. You want to hold on to the quality. Ivan, man, like the American players put on the show. They're the ones who make the game better, man. They're the ones who have the game be higher quality. Yeah, but a lot of the Canadian star players also make the game better too. Yeah, they do. But the American players on average have the edge, Ivan. They're a bit better. I know they are, but it won't really make that much of a difference. You need to get rid of the American talent in the CFL. Yeah. The CFL is failing because you're promoting the Canadian football brand with the American talent when you should be promoting the Canadian football brand with the Canadian talent. That's how you grow the league. They laugh me off. They think I'm crazy. Ivan, you're crazy, man. Like, you want to get rid of the American talent? Nah, you got to get rid of them, man. That's how you grow the league. No, Ivan, we can't do that. Like, we know what I'm saying? We need to keep the American talent up here. Okay, fine. Wait. If you want to keep the American talent in the CFL, how do you want to grow this league? Oh, I think we could what? We could promote the American players more. You know what I'm saying? We can have them speak at universities and everything. Yeah, you can do that. You guys do have the American players speaking cat and everything, but you know as how no one really cares about these guys, man. Because they don't really know who they are. Or even they know who they are. Yeah, a lot of fans are familiar with them and everything when they speak because they're CFL stars, but they can't relate to them because they're American guys. They don't know where these guys came from. Like, oh my God, you have this CFL star who plays for this team. You know what I'm saying? The fans, some fans recognize him, they love him and everything, but they can't relate to these guys because they're American. They didn't see them play college football in the States, NCAA. They're a bit clueless, and you know what I'm saying? They don't really care about these guys, man. Oh, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's the truth, right? Whereas the Canadian players, they value them more. They love them more. The Canadian star players, they love them more. Yeah, the American players. Yeah, that's the truth, right? Yeah. All the African players, so I've been like the CFL, they underestimate. Yeah, the CFL, because they're so blinded by the American talent, they underestimate the Canadian talent. They underestimate like crazy. The CFL, they just look down on the Canadian players, and they just love all these American guys who come up here who the fans don't really care that much about, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Well, I'm just man, why don't the Canadians love the American guys coming up here? Because they're American and they have their Canadian bias on it. Just like you Americans have your bias towards us Canadian players, the Canadians up here have the bias towards the Canadians up here. Obviously, the Canadian football players, they can't relate to them because they're American. They don't know where these guys. They didn't see these guys in college in the NCAA, so they're clueless. They don't know anything about these guys. They're American. They're from another country. They can't relate to them. They don't know who these guys are. These guys may be amazing players and putting on the show, but they can't relate to these guys because they're American. They don't really care that much about them. But the CFL is blinded by Ivan. Even though these fans up here don't really care that much about the American guys, it's because the American players that the league is surviving because it's quality football. Yeah, that's what you guys think, but I beg to differ, man. I think the reason why your league is not growing is because you're trying to promote the Canadian football brand with the American talent instead of promoting it with the Canadian talent, the best Canadian talent in Canada. You think you're going to grow the league by promoting by promoting the American talent in Canada. You should be promoting the league with the Canadian talent. Canada. We do though. Yeah, like I don't know, maybe like a few Canadian stars here and there, but most of your star players, guys, in the CFL are all these American guys from the States, man. We're undrafted, signed free agents from the NFL and NFL cuts. So, Sarah, yeah, that's some Sarah. So I the American players, yeah, the American players because they're a bit more talented than the Canadian players in Canada. the CFL knows that it's because of the American players. They make the game experience better, and they put on more of a show. Yeah, they may put on more of a show, guys, but they're not that valuable up here. These fans don't really care about them. That's the truth, man. Like they're putting on a show, but the fans are roaring. They love them, but they don't know anything about these guys. They don't really care that much about these guys, man. Like, be honest, guys. Let me ask you a question, man. Even though these American guys are amazing athletes up here, and they're putting on a show, do these fans in Canada really care that much about them? Like, can they relate to them? Why haven't they related to them? No, they don't. They don't even know anything about these guys. They're American. This guy is an undrafted signed free agent. He played in the he was a star NCAA athlete. He's playing up here in the CFL. The fans love him and everything, but they can't really relate to them. They didn't see him play NCAA. You know what I'm saying? They don't really care that much about him because he's American. They can't relate to him. They don't really care. You guys what I'm saying? Yeah. Yeah, but Ivan, man, like they put on a show, man. They do, but like you notice how you've been trying to promote the heck out of all these guys on the TSN promo thing on TSN, and the Canadians all over Canada don't really care really about these guys, right? Yeah. That's what I'm saying. That's what I told the committee. The committee is Ivan. Like, Ivan, man, you're a genius, man. You know how to convince us. Ivan, if we do this, this is risky, Ivan. Man, look, man, remember Herb Brooks in Miracle? He told, when he played back in 1980, right? He told the Olympic Committee, I don't want NHL athletes in my team. I want to train the best college players. And they laughed him off, and his college players won the gold medal round. He pulled it off. Then, you do this, guys, you're going to grow the league. This will never be the NFL, but you're going to grow this league, and this is going to be a more popular league in Canada. I know what I'm doing, man. Ivan, the quality with it. Look, man, you have two choices, man. You have to choose quality over value, or you choose value over quality. Those are your two choices. The quality dips a little bit, but the league is now more valuable because you're promoting the Canadian homegrown talent. The fans can relate to them more. The fans are going to care more about the league now. More people tune in, and they'll make more money. And you get rid of the American players, or you keep the American players. The quality of football is a bit better, and they're putting on more of a show, but you're not seeing any growth, and your league value is not as high right now compared to, you know what I'm saying? Because right now the CFL is peaking at like $250 million in revenue every year, and they're seeing very minimal growth. They're struggling to grow the league, and I believe it's because the CFL is trying to grow the Canadian Football League brand by promoting the American talent, because most of the CFL stars in the CFL are the American guys who come up here. Yeah, like you see this CFL promo, you see this star receiver. You know what I'm saying? You see this star receiver. They, you know what I'm saying? They his stats and everything. You know what I'm saying? He does this. You know what I'm saying? The CFL promo. You guys don't talk about the CFL. You know what I'm saying? They promote this player. Yeah, this player played at NCAA University and all that stuff. And like, yeah, the fans are familiar with him, and he's a star in the league, but no one cares, guys. They don't even know who these guys are. Like, yeah, this guy's a star player in the CFL. He's an amazing American receiver, but like, I can't relate to him. He's American. I don't even know where this guy came from. Like, he's amazing, but I don't really care about this guy. Yeah, man, the fans kind of don't really care about these guys, man. Be honest, guys, man. When you do this and you promote these players in the CFL, do the fans in Canada really care about them? Why even they care about them? Yeah, they care about them a little, but they don't really care about these guys because they can't relate to them. They're American players. They don't know who they are. Yeah. You guys, I'm saying? They don't know who these guys are. Yeah, man. All the NFL players, what do you mean by they don't know who these guys are? What I mean by that, they don't know who these guys are. They're what? They're clueless about their football history. They don't know anything about them. They don't even know what school they played at. Yes, they know their names and everything when they become stars, a lot of the fans, but they can't relate to them because they're American and they don't have a clue about them. They're just guys who come up here out of nowhere who play at this school. They may be stars, but the Canadians are clueless about these. They don't know anything about these guys, man. Obviously, you guys from Sarah? Yeah, but Ivan, they're putting on a show. Yes, they're putting on a show, but the fans still don't really care that much about these guys, man. That's the truth, man. They care more about the Canadian players. The best Canadian players who play up here in Canada, right? That's what they care about more. Some Sarah? Give me a second, guys. I'm gonna go upstairs and get more coffee. Well, I'll be back in a sec. You guys want to show? Yeah, back, guys. Yeah. But the committee would laugh me off. They would laugh me off as crazy. And they wouldn't. They would say no. I'm like, look, man, if you don't do this, guys, I'm stepping out. I'm stepping down as CFL commissioner. I don't want to run out. I don't want to be your commissioner. I went out, man, because man, like I can't see any way of this league growing. You got to make some changes, guys. You've been trying your best to promote the Canadian football brand with the American talent. It's not working. The fans up here are not resonating with these American players. They may be putting on the show, but guys, be honest, man. They're rejects. These people in Canada don't really care that much about these guys. Am I right, Ivan? They don't care as much about them compared to the Canadians. They still love them. Yeah, they love them, guys, but they don't really care that much about these guys. They can't relate to them. They're Americans. They're American players. Yeah. Yeah. Guys, be honest, man. All these American, I know, undrafted, NCAA unsigned free agents, obviously, who come up here in the CFL, are they really that valuable to the league? Why even they're valuable? Yeah, they're a little bit valuable, but they're not as valuable as the Canadian players, obviously. Yeah, obviously. All the American players, what do you mean? Okay, the American players who come up here in the CFL, they have talent, but they don't have much value up here. That's why the brand is not growing. Whereas the Canadian players are not as talented, but they have greater value. in Canada. So that I'm like, you guys have to make a choice. You have to either sacrifice talent for value or value for talent. Those are your choices. The American players may be more talented, but they don't have much value up here, guys. The fans don't, the Canadians don't resonate with them. They don't really care that much about these guys. They may be putting on a show, guys, but you've been promoting them and no one cares. Like, you know what I'm saying? So, Ivan, man, you're a genius, man. Ivan, like, you're right. We know the Canadian players are more valuable in the CFL. You know what I'm saying? So, Ivan, you want the best players playing in Canada playing in the CFL, and you want to get rid of the American talent. That's how we grow the league, and you promote the homegrown talent. Yes, that's how you grow the league. I disagree with Ivan. I think we should keep the American players. Guys, the American players are not that valuable up here, man. No one really cares about them. You know what I'm saying? They're NFL rejects. The fans know they're NFL rejects. They may be putting on a show and they're amazing players up here, but they don't really care that much about them, guys, and they can't relate to them. Am I right, Ivan? Like, you're right, but they're talented, Ivan. Yes, they are. They're very, very talented players. They put on the show, I know. They're amazing players. I watch many CFL games. The American players who come up here are fucking amazing players. And they really do put on a show up here. But your league is not growing, guys. Because they're not that valuable up here, don't you? I'm saying, yeah. So like, you want the best Canadian players in Canada competing up here? Yes. Have it be the Canadian Football League, the best Canadian homegrown talent in Canada, and they compete. And you grow the homegrown talent. That's how you lead. And you're gonna get bigger sponsorship deals from all these big brands. Obviously, the CFL has quite a bit of a lot of big sponsorship deals with all these Canadian companies. But like, if you want this league to grow and get more sponsorship deals, you do that by promoting the Canadian talent, not the American talent. Promoting the American talent in the Canadian Football League is not the way to go. You gotta promote the Canadian Football League with the Canadian talent. Ivan, this is risky, man. The quality's gonna drop. Yeah, it'll drop by maybe, I don't know, 6%. It doesn't really make that much of a difference, man. It's still amazing, entertaining football, right? You have to put the Canadian players through better training, have the coaches coach them better, and you'll get a better performance from them on the field. Yeah. Just like the best college hockey players in the 1970s, when Herb Brooks coached for Team USA, he put them through rigorous training. You have to push the Canadian football players training to the next. You have to give them better training, guys. Better off-season training, better on-field training, and that's how the Canadian players will even be a bit better. And it'll still be amazing high-quality football. It's amazing high-quality football. It's the best players in Canada playing in the league, man, playing football in the league. Yeah, but it's not as the American players put on more of a show. Yes, they do, guys. They're a bit more talented, but they don't have much value up here, guys. They're not that valuable up here. Am I right? They're not, Ivan, but they're still valuable. Yeah, they are. They have value, obviously, but they're not as valuable as the Canadian players. Obviously. So you have to sacrifice the more talented for value, or the more valuable for a bit of the more talented. Those are your two choices. Yeah. Yeah. I know, geez, I know. I'll believe I know it. Yeah. So you want the best players? Yeah, have the best players in Canada, play in Canada, who got drafted from college. They compete and they play pro football up here, and you're gonna get more viewership. I know I'm doing. The league will grow. It won't be the NFL, but this league can grow, guys, to a 400 and $500 million league revenue league. I know I'm doing. In a good 10, 15 years, this thing could be pretty big, man. It can go to from a $250 million. You can double your earnings by doing this, man. The league can go from $250 million a year in revenue to a $500 million a year in revenue. You're gonna get bigger TV deals from TSN, maybe a $75 million a year TV deal with TSN. And you know what I'm saying, you're gonna get more sponsors, and the league will grow. And if you promote the Canadian homegrown talent, and when these all-star quarterbacks in Canada actually go to the universities and they go to places and they speak, a lot of fans will recognize them because they saw these guys play in college up here in Canada, and they're going to respect them more and they can relate with them more because they're Canadian, and that's how you grow the brand. And the Canadian star players will now get bigger endorsement deals. As right now, your endorsement deals, guys, in the CFL are a joke. As the star players are lucky to get maybe a $10,000, $50,000 endorsement deal from the companies because these people in Canada don't really relate with these American players. They don't even know who they really are. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. Yeah. And once you make this money, guys, you can now raise the cap. Because right now the CFL cap is at $6 million. So QBs peak at like $700,000 a year salary in the CFL. If you now you can raise the cap to $8 million, and now the star quarterbacks like Nathan Rourke and Trey Ford, they can make their $1.2 million a year, like for a salary. You know what I'm saying? They're making great living. The star receivers can make their $700,000 a year salary, $600,000 a year salary. You know what I'm saying? The defensive players can make their $300,000, $400,000 a year salary, and the good players now can even make $200,000, $150,000. You know what I'm saying? And then the league is now in a healthy position. These players are not making the money the NFL players are making, but these players are all filthy rich now. They're making an amazing living. And guaranteed, a lot more Canadian brands are going to want to endorse these guys because they're homegrown Canadian talent. Whereas the reason why a lot of these star American players in CFL don't really get that much big endorsement deals, the ones who do get endorsement deals, is because it's very tough to promote these guys because no one in Canada really cares about these guys. They don't even know who they really are. Because they can't relate to them. They're American players, guys. They may be more talented, but like as how the league's not growing. No one really cares about these guys, man. Yeah, man. That's the truth, right on, Houston. Yeah. Yeah. And the committee's blowing me, Ivan, man. Like, Ivan, you're convincing us. You're convincing us, but this is risky, man. This is risky. You want to get rid of the American talent, just have the best players in Canada play. Yes. And you promote the Canadian brand, the league will grow. The quality will dip a little bit, I know, but that's why you have to put them through better training, guys. Better off-season training and better coaching from the coaches. Yeah, even the football it'll still be amazing quality football. They're the best players in Canada, but the quality will dip a little bit. You need the American talent up here to boost the quality. Yeah, guys, they may be a bit more talented, but like they're not that valuable here, guys. No one cares about these guys. That's the truth. They don't care that much about these American players. They can't relate to them. Like, you know what I'm saying? They don't care that much about these guys, man. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, but I think like like we're gonna see a drop in quality with the quarterbacks. Guys, man, CIS QBs are all the best CIS QBs are amazing quarterbacks. Yeah, they're amazing quarterbacks, but they're not the American quarterbacks. They're not, but there's not that really much of a difference, guys. There really isn't, man. I've seen CIS football. All the star quarterbacks, most of them obviously are amazing quarterbacks. Yeah, they are, Ivan. Yeah, they're amazing quarterbacks. And now all the star quarterbacks playing in CIS, they now have an opportunity to be star franchise quarterbacks in the CFL. But most CIS quarterbacks don't get the opportunity. Maybe one or two get drafted and the rest don't make it. And if they do, you know what I'm saying? No, quite a bit of CFL Canadian QBs are unsigned draft free agents in the CFL, but they sit on the bench and they give all the American guys the reps. Ivan, because the American QBs are a bit better. That's why you got to get rid of these guys, man. Get rid of the American players in CFL. Get rid of the American talent. Sarah? Yeah. There was a quarterback who played in the CIS years ago. His name is Kyle Quinlan. He played for the McMaster Universities. Obviously, he was a quarterback who played in that CIS Vanier Cup game. The Vanier Cup is the championship of the CIS. Obviously, it was televised on TSN, and Dwayne Ford was the color commentator for that game. It was McMaster University versus Laval University, and Kyle Quinlan put on the show. He was an amazing quarterback, and he was, you know what I'm saying, he was an unsigned. He didn't get drafted because the CFLs are biased towards Canadian quarterbacks. But the Montreal Alouettes, they signed him as an undrafted free agent, but he was getting no reps, and he quit, obviously. You know what I'm saying? And that CIS championship game was one of the greatest college games ever played. They even made a documentary about it, and even Dwayne Ford is like, "Yeah, this is like the best game I've ever seen." Like, that's how you know the guys, the best Canadian players in Canada. They can all, they're also going to put on the show. Yeah, they will, but it won't be as entertaining. It won't be as entertaining, guys. It won't, but it won't really make that much of a difference, and the fans will love them more in Canada. You're going to make more money, man. They don't really care about them about that much about these American guys. That's the truth, don't you? Yeah. And you're telling me Kyle Quinlan, without proper training, he wouldn't have done well in the CFL? He would have. He would have done well in the CFL. Brad Sinopoli. Brad Sinopoli, obviously, he was a star quarterback in the CIS. He played for Ottawa University. He was such an amazing player. He was putting up, like, I don't know, like, he was such an amazing player. He won the league MVP of the CIS. This is like back in the day, like 2010. He was an amazing quarterback, obviously. He was an amazing quarterback, obviously, in the CIS. He won the MVP of the CIS, obviously. And then he was eligible for the CFL draft. He got drafted in the 4th round as a quarterback for the Calgary Stampeders. And I saw the game. He played in the preseason. And he did just as good as the American NCAA quarterback. But because the CFL's bias, he didn't get his opportunity. And the year later, he played in the preseason versus the American guy. They didn't give him as much reps, but he scored a touchdown. And that's how you know the potential's there for them to be successful. They just need better training. But because of the bias in the CFL, Brad Sinopoli, he's like, hey, fuck this. I think the CFL told him, hey, look, Brad Sinopoli, you're never going to get your opportunity as a star quarterback, but we can switch you to receiver. They switched him to receiver, and he killed the league as a receiver. He was putting up 1,000+ yards a season as a Canadian player. I think he won Outstanding Canadian. He was a star receiver for the Ottawa Red Blacks. He was putting up 1,000 yards a season, obviously. He was an amazing receiver in the CFL. Obviously, but guys, man, had he played quarterback in the CFL and he had proper training, he would have been an amazing quarterback. Obviously, and so you have, I don't know, Brad Sinopoli versus Nathan Rohr versus Trey Ford. You promote these guys. You're telling me the fans in Canada are not, more fans in Canada are not going to do it. Ivan, they would, Ivan, but the quality will go down. It's risky. Yeah, it'll go down a little bit, but guys, you're going to make more money. I know I'm doing. You're going to make more money, man. The fans care more about the Canadian players than these American guys who come up here, man. That's the truth. So, Sarah? Yeah. You do well, Brad Sinopoli. Yeah, he did. But because the American players have a bit, the American quarterbacks have the edge over the Canadian quarterbacks in town a little bit, and the league's biased towards the American quarterbacks like crazy in the CFL. He didn't get his opportunity, but he scored a touchdown. You know what I'm saying, like, he did well. Yeah. Sarah? Yeah. And guys, if you do this and league revenue goes up, obviously now all the CFL even though CFL coaches and GMs make a lot of money in the CFL, they can make even more money now in the CFL. Yeah, and the GMs and guys, all the GMs and the coaches don't have to worry about that bullshit ratio thing now. The 7-star Canadian players, you guys don't have to worry about that anymore because you got rid of the American players. You don't have to worry about that anymore. Sincere? Yeah. Well, I guarantee you, all you CFO coaches and GMs think I'm crazy. Ivan, you're crazy. That's a bad idea, man. The quality would drop. Man, you guys underestimate the Canadian talent. You really do, man. You underestimate the Canadian talent. The Canadian players are almost as good as the American players, man. They really are. Yeah. Yeah. As that college championship game was one of the greatest college games ever played in Canada, man. Even Dwayne Ford called it the best game. He's like, this is like the best game ever. And it was a show, man. And Kyle Quinlan had an amazing performance in that game. He was an amazing quarterback, Kyle Quinlan, right? But he didn't. He got his CFL opportunity. He was an unsigned, undrafted free agent. But they put him on the bench, and he got like minimal reps, and he quit. He's like, I'm done. This is bullshit. Yeah, all these Canadian, you're losing CFL. A lot of great Canadian talent, all because of your bias towards the American players, man. You're not giving them an opportunity to shine up here. Why even? The reason why we're not doing that because the American players are a bit better. That's why you got to get rid of them. Get rid of the American guys. That's what I'll tell the committee. Get rid of the American guys. Yeah, but either you're limiting their opportunity to play for football, pro football. Guys, they have the arena football league, they have the XFL, they can play there. They can play there, man. The NFL limits the opportunities for us Canadian players. So why are you giving all these American guys much more opportunities to shine up here when the NFL doesn't give us Canadian players time to shine in the NFL? Like, how's that fair, guys? All right, that's a good point, man. Yeah, NFL limits the opportunity, minimum opportunity for Canadian players to play there. So why are you giving all these American guys their opportunity to shine up here, and you're limiting the opportunities for the best Canadian players to shine when they're more valuable to the league than the American players. The American players may be a bit more talented, but they're not as valuable for your guys. No one really cares that much about these guys, man. They don't really care that much about these guys in Canada. Yeah. So you're telling me if the CFL panel promoted Kyle Quinlan, Brad Sinopoli, you know what I'm saying, Trey Ford, and the best Canadian quarterback, the best college quarterbacks, you know what I'm saying, and Nathan Rourke, they talk about the rivalry and everything, and they played CIS and everything. You're telling me that will not build more that would be less popular than promoting, I don't know, Bully by Mitchell and Zach Caleras. What do you think would be more popular if you promote these guys? The Canadian players be more popular, Ivan, but like it's risky, Ivan. The quality go down. Yeah, the quality go down a little bit, but you're gonna make more money, guys. You know what I'm saying? It'll build more buzz. The more fans will tune in because they can relate to these players. They're Canadian players. Because even though these American quarterbacks are amazing quarterbacks who come up here, the fans don't really care that much about these guys because they're American. They're clueless about them. They don't even know where these guys came from. They're just guys who come up here and they kill the league, but they're American. They can't relate to them. They don't even know what school they went to. You know what I'm saying? They don't. You know what I'm saying? That's what told the community. They will lock me up. Ivan, you're crazy, man. You want to get rid of the American talent. You want the best Canadian talent playing in the CFL. Yes. Have the best Canadian talent playing in the CFL. The best of the best. Yeah, Ivan, they're the best of the best, obviously, in Canada, but, like, they're not as good as the American players, Ivan. Yeah, you guys are blinded by the American talent, the edge of the American talent, and you underestimate the Canadian talent. It's sad, man. You guys think Canadian players are just not good enough to put on the show and attract the fans up here in Canada. Yeah. Because you're blinded by your bias towards the American talent. Because they have a little bit of an edge over the Canadian players, and they put on more of a show in most cases. You think that's how you're going to grow the league because it's quality football. Yes, it's more quality football, but you know as how the fans are not resonating with these guys, and they don't really care about them. Why? Because they're American players. They can't relate to them guys. And don't forget, they know they're the NFL rejects. So don't forget that, guys. Why? They may be NFL rejects, but they're very talented. Yes, they are. They're very talented players. But the fans are not really resonating with these guys because they're American. They don't even know where they came from. They don't really know who they are. You know what I'm saying? They don't really care about these guys, man, that much. See what I'm saying? Yeah. Ivan, what's your goal for this league? I want to promote the Canadian the Canadian homegrown talent and boost league revenue. I believe I can grow this league, guys, to a $400 million a year revenue in a good maybe 10 years. This can work, man. It'll never be the NFL, but this league can grow and it can be more profitable, man. If you do this, CFL will never do this, obviously, because they think it's too big of a risk because they're so blinded by the American talent. If they make this change, because the CFL, they know the Canadian players are more valuable than the American players, but because they're blinded by the talent of the American players, they think because the American players are a bit better players and they put on more of a show than the Canadian players, it's better. It's more entertaining to the fans and to the viewers on television. But even though it's more entertaining to the fans and viewers on television, you know how people in Canada don't really care about these guys. They don't resonate with them. Your league's not growing because you're promoting the Canadian football brand with American talent instead of promoting the Canadian football brand with the Canadian talent. Obviously. Sam, CFL will never do that though. It's a huge risk. It's risky, obviously. I don't think it's risky, but the CFL obviously thinks it's very risky. I mean, that's a bad idea, man. Like the quality will go down, man, a little bit by 6%. It'll go down a little bit, Ivan. Yeah, I'll go down, but the league will be more valuable and it'll make more money if you promote the Canadian players pretty well. Some Sarah. I have to go to the bank. I'll go to the bank around 1:30, 2 o'clock. I have to go to the bank and get my direct deposit form. I gotta go to the welfare office, obviously. I already brought my missing information, but I have to bring my direct deposit bank form. Today's the due date, obviously. I have to go today, obviously. Right? Tomorrow I work at Dinty, so I'll make a video for you guys after my show at Dinty's tomorrow. Yeah. Yeah. All the answer after y'all, Ivan. So the CFL, yeah, the CFL is blinded because you American athletes obviously are a bit more talented than Canadian athletes. Even the guys who come up here, I don't know, the undrafted sign, and you know what I'm saying, free NFL free agents, when they come up here and they put on a show, obviously because the CFL, because it's more quality football obviously up here, and the American players are the ones who put on more of a show than the Canadian players. The CFL thinks that by doing that, it's going to grow the league, but in reality, I think that's false. I think even though the American players are putting on a show up here, guys, the fans in Canada are not resonating with these guys because they're clueless about them. They don't know anything about them. They're American. They don't know about anything about these guys, man. They don't really care that much about them. They care more about the Canadian players. Yeah. Yeah, if the Canadian players are more valuable up here, yes, but they're not as talented. Yeah, that's why you got to make a choice. Either you sacrifice quality for value or you sacrifice value for quality. Those are two choices, right? It's up to you. Because you know CFL, yeah, we know. The Canadian players are are a lot more valuable than the American players up here, but they're not as talented. That's why you got to make a choice, man. You got to sacrifice talent for value or value for yeah. You got to sacrifice talent for value or value for talent. It's up to you. Yeah. Yeah. But guys, if you want a better performance, if you want a better performance on the field than the Canadian players, you have to put them through better off-season training and better coaching, and you're gonna get a better. They'll tell me, Ivan, there'll still be the high quality football because it's the greatest players in Canada playing, but the quality will dip a little bit. Yeah, but it won't dip by much. It doesn't make that much of a difference, guys. Like a 6% drop in quality, but like even if it's I don't know a 6% drop in quality, like if you promote the heck out of all these guys and the league, more people tuning in, the league makes more money. It's worth it because you now have a more your league now has higher growth. Yeah, I disagree. Well, okay, let me ask you a question, man. You know what I'm saying? Even though the American players put on more of a show on television when people kind of watch in the CFL on TSN for the games, even though they're putting on a show, has there been any growth in your league, guys? No, not really. I mean, yeah, and I think it's because the fans are not resonating with these guys, man. That's what I think. The fans are not resonating with these American players. not. That's why your league has no growth. Yeah. Why are they not resonating? Because they're American players playing in a Canadian branded league, football league. The fans up here in Canada, they just don't resonate with them. They're clueless about them. They don't really care that much about these guys, man. Don't get me wrong, when they're CFL stars and everything, the fans love them and everything. But even then, they don't really care that much about them because they don't know who these guys are. Like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, this star receiver is amazing. They know his name and everything, and they love him and everything. But like, he's American. I don't know anything about this guy. This guy is just a guy who came up here from the NCAA. He's an unsigned, you know what I'm saying, undrafted NFL free agent. He's an amazing player up here. He puts on the show. He's a CFL star, but like I can't resonate with these guys. He's American. He's from a different country. I don't really know that much about this guy. I love him. He's a star, but I don't really care that much about him. Yeah, and that's why your league is not growing. No, Hameson. Yeah. Sarah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, coming. I told you the Trey Ford story. My brother told me the story. Yeah, Trey Ford played in CIS. He was, I think, a first round pick in the CFL, obviously, as a quarterback. Obviously. Last year he played football, obviously, and he did very well in the CFL. Obviously, but they gave him limited reps, and they started this NCAA American quarterback, and he was the Canadian quarterback was doing terrible, and all the fans were rooting for Trey Ford to go on the field. They didn't care about the American guy, man. They were rooting for Trey Ford. Why? Because he's Canadian, and a lot of the fans knew him from college. And the Canadian players are just more valuable to the Canadian fans. And you know it. So, well, yeah, we know they're more valuable, but they're not as talented either. Yeah, you guys underestimate the Canadian talent, and you're blinded by your bias of the American players' talent, man. These guys may be more talented guys, but when they come up here, these fans don't really care about them. They don't know anything about these guys. They don't care about these guys that much, man. Why even they care about them? Yeah, they care about them, but do they care about them the way they care about the Canadian players? No, Ivan, but the American players they put on more of a show. They're more talented. We can't do that, Ivan. Okay, if you don't want to make this change, I'm stepping down as commissioner. I can't grow your league. I don't see any way forward without making this change, man. This is how you grow the league. I know what I'm doing. This is how you boost the value of the Canadian Football League and you grow the league. Sarah, you got to get rid of the American talent. Yeah. It will lock me off and think I'm crazy. No, guys, I'm not joking around. Get rid of the American talent and put these Canadian athletes through better off-season training. The league will grow, and you got to promote. You got to promote the Canadian talent. Mainly focus on the quarterbacks, the star quarterback players in the CFL. Promote them more on the TSN promo thing. Obviously, yeah. And when you do documentaries about these players in the CIS, a lot of people in Canada will recognize them from the universities and everything, and they'll actually care more about these guys because they're Canadian. They can relate to them more. Yeah, I play at this CIS university. I got drafted in the third round. I got my opportunity to play pro football, and now they're CFL legends, and the fans are gonna love them more. Whereas when the CFL, like, they do documentaries about all these players, these American players, you come out here, yeah, I was an undrafted, unsigned NFL free agent, and I got my opportunity to play pro football up here. Like, yeah, it's an amazing story, and you know what I'm saying, but like, do people in Canada really care, guys, about these guys? They don't even know who they are. Yeah. Do they really care, guys? Yeah, you got a good point there. Yeah, they don't really care about these American guys, man, because they're American. They can't relate to them. Yeah, it's an amazing story. I don't know. This guy played NCAA football. He was an unsigned, undrafted NFL free agent. He gets an NFL opportunity. They come up here. They get to be CFL stars. You know what I'm saying? Amazing story. But the people in Canada don't really care, guys, about these guys, man. About these American guys. They don't really care because they can't relate to them because they're American, right? They're American guys from a different country, right? Yeah. Ivan, they care. Yes, the fans care about the American. I don't know. They do a documentary because the CFL. They do this thing where they do a lot of documentaries about all these CFL stars who come here. They do this like documentary where they interview them and everything, and they talk about like how they played football up in Canada and they wanted to make the NFL, and they got their unsigned their unsigned undrafted NFL free agent, and they get to play up here. They get to be CFL stars. It's an amazing story, obviously, and the fans recognize them. Yeah, that's a pretty cool story. But because they're American, they can't relate to them. They don't know anything about these guys. They don't really care, man, because they don't really care. Sorry, they don't really care about these guys, man. I remember I saw a few documentaries about some of these athletes. Like, yeah, and I'm saying, I played NCAA football in the States and NCAA. I was an unsigned, undrafted NFL free agent, and my sport agent told me this GM from CFL is interested in me, and I got my shot to play pro football, and they're now CFL stars. It's an amazing story, obviously. But I'm like, yeah, even though it's an amazing story, it's a beautiful story, obviously, how they're CFL stars and everything. Because this guy's American, I don't know where he came from. I can't relate to him. I don't really care. Like, you see what I'm saying? Because he's American. I don't really care, man. Because, like, these are guys from a different country who just come up here. And they happen to kill the league, but I don't really care. Because they're not Canadian. Whereas with the Canadian players, I care more about their story than the American players. Because I'm Canadian, I can relate to them more. I'm familiar with all the guys. You guys from saying, yeah, we know they're more valuable, but like they're not as talented, Ivan. It's risky. Yeah, that's why you gotta make a choice, man. You gotta sacrifice value for talent, or you sacrifice talent for value. It's up to you. That's what I'll tell the CFL committees. I'm sorry. Yeah. So why the CFL is really trying? Yeah, all you American football players, all you Americans, yeah, the CFL, you can tell they're trying their best to promote the heck out of all these CFL American star players, and the league has no growth. That's how you know, guys. The fans of Canada are not resonating with these American guys in the CFL. That's the truth. I don't mean to be an asshole. Like, fuck you, are you just a fucking dick, man? Well, you American players put us Canadian players down too in America. That's just the truth, guys. I don't mean to be an asshole, man. The CFL is really trying their best to promote these star American quarterbacks, receivers, running backs, and yet no one in Canada really cares. They don't really know anything about these guys, and they don't resonate with these guys. They're American. They don't really care. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's the truth, man. Yeah. They don't really care. There you go. Why, when the Americans make the game better, the game experience better. Yeah, they make the gaming experience better in terms of the talent, quality talent, but they're not really making the gaming experience better for the value of the league. You know what I'm saying? The game experience is a bit of higher quality because they're amazing American players who come up here and they put on a show in the CFL, but they're not that valuable up here, guys. That's the truth, man. Guys, I'm gonna ask you a question, man. All these American players who come up here in the CFL, are they really that valuable to the league? They are, Ivan. No, but like, are they? No, seriously, man. Are they really that valuable to the league? Be honest. Like, they're very valuable because they're very talented. Like, yeah, they have some value, obviously, because they're very talented up here, obviously, but they don't resonate with the Canadian football fans up here, guys. They're not that valuable up here, and you know it. The Canadian players are more valuable, Ivan, but they're not as talented, Ivan. We can't take that risk. We can't what? We can't just get rid of the American talent and just have the best players in Canada play up here, Ivan. The quality will dip a little bit. Yeah, but the value of your brand will go up. It will increase, man. I know I'm doing. Because you're now promoting the Canadian Football League brand with the Canadian homegrown talent. More people in Canada, if you promote these Canadian quarterbacks and receivers, a lot of these people who saw them in university and everything, and you know what I'm saying, the more people will tune in. You'll get more viewership. Because right now the CFL peaks at like 500,000 views per game. Obviously. Per game, obviously. Only 500,000 people in Canada for every game tuned in on average to every CFL game. And sometimes they might peak at maybe 700, 800,000. A few times they peaked at 1 million, but like the CFL on average peaks at like 500,000 views a game in the CFL. That's what I'm saying. There's not that much of an interest in football in Canada, right? The fans are just not resonating with all these American players. Yeah. Yeah, Ivan, we're struggling. Yeah, you guys are struggling with your TV viewership, CFL, you know what I'm saying? You're struggling, you know what I'm saying? The Grey Cup is very popular. The Grey Cup gets millions of views, obviously. The Grey Cup is popular, the CFL Championship. A lot of people in Canada tune into that. But the on average, guys, you're only getting like 500,000 people in Canada watching your CFL games on TSN. Like, you're struggling to attract the fans in Canada CFL. Why? They ask me, Ivan, why do you think we're struggling to attract the fans in Canada? I'm like, it's because of the American talent, guys. You're promoting the Canadian Football League with the American talent. These fans in Canada are not resonating with these guys. They don't really care about these guys. That would be my answer. Yeah, but we promote the brand with Canadian players too. Yeah, but only a few guys. Most of the star athletes in your league, guys, are the American players. The CFL does promote the brand with some Canadian star players, but most of the star players are all these American guys, man. There's barely any Canadian star players. Because don't forget, guys, most of the star players in Canada in the CFL are old linemen, right? They're the old linemen, man. Those are most of the starting positions in the CFL, the old linemen. CFL starts like 4 old linemen for every team on average. 3 to 4 old linemen, and maybe 1 receiver, you know what I'm saying? And like 1 D lineman and 1 corner, 1 Canadian corner, and that's it. The rest are all the American stars, obviously, up here, right? That's how it works, right? Yeah. Alright, that's cold, man. I know. It's cold, man. It's cold. Almost there, guys. Why, do you think the CFO will ever make that change? No. Never going to happen. If I was CFO commissioner, I would pitch this to the committee, but they will laugh me off as crazy. Ivan, you're crazy, man. Like you want to just have the best players in Canada play pro football and get rid of the American talent. Yes, I want you to promote the Canadian Football League brand with the Canadian homegrown talent, the best players in Canada, have them compete in pro football, and this league will grow. But even the quality will dip by a little bit, and you got to put them through better training, guys. Have better off season training for the Canadian players. You have to put them through better training, obviously, and you have to have the coaches really train, really coach these players very well. All the coaches from America and Canada coach the hell out of these guys. I guarantee all the GM and coaches think I'm crazy. Ivan, you're crazy, man. I don't think you'll really make a difference. That's risky, Ivan. The quality would dip. Yeah, the quality would dip a little bit, but the value of your brand guys will go up. No one in Canada really cares about these American guys, man. That's the truth. Don't hear him saying, yeah. Ivan, when you say they don't care about the American guys, does that mean they're not famous to the fans? No, 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 no. That's not what I mean. There's context. Like if an American guy who comes up here kills the league and he's a CFL star and everything, the fans in the CFL will love him. He's famous in the CFL and everything. They love the guy and everything, but because he's American and they don't really resonate with him, they don't really care that much about. They love him and everything. Oh my god, I love you so much. You're such an amazing player. But because they're American, they don't even know where you guys came from, and they can't resonate with him. They don't really care that much about these guys. You guys get the picture there? They don't really care that much about these guys. Whereas the Canadian players, they love a lot more up here if they're stars, obviously. But because most of the starting positions in the CFL are all linemen, there's very few Canadian stars in the CFL. All the stars are the American players, obviously. You guys see what I'm saying? As the CFL is limiting the best Canadian players in Canada their opportunity to shine, they're giving the spotlight to all these Americans who are rejects from the NFL their time to shine up here in our league, who the fans up here, guys, don't really care that much about. Like, I don't mean to be an asshole, that's just the truth. They don't really care about these guys. Some Sarah? No, get food, guys. We'll be back in a sec. Ready, guys. There's the all the NFL dive, and that's crazy, man. That's cold, man. The CFL really has a bias towards the American players. Yeah, they do. I heard they have such a big bias towards the American players. They treat them like gods, man. My older brother told me that, man. You know, Ivan, the star players in the CFL loves them, man. If you're a star Canadian player, the CFL loves you. They love you a lot too. But I told you, very few Canadian players up here who get drafted get an opportunity to really shine up here, be stars. It's the American players who get their opportunity to shine, and the CFL just loves them so much. In our fucking league, man, it's embarrassing. You told me, yeah, Ivan, there's a bias towards The American players, yeah, there is. I think my older brother told me a story, yeah. When he got drafted in CFL. He's like, yeah, he's like, yeah, all us Canadian draft picks, you know what I'm saying? The coaches, they treat the American players, the star players, like gods. And they all get the reps on the field, and like all us draft picks are all sitting on the bench, man. They're like, oh, this is bullshit, man. Yeah. Like, we're drafting the CFL. Yeah, we get to play pro football, but we're all sitting on the bench, and all these American guys are all like the stars up here. Like, this is not fair. And that's why CFL, you're losing a lot of great Canadian talent because of your American bias, because you're blinded by your bias towards the American talent. Yeah, they may be a bit more talented CFL, but like, you notice how your league is not growing because no one in Canada cares about these guys. Like, you know what I'm saying? They don't care about these guys that much, man. They care more about the Canadian players, and you're limiting their opportunity. And that's why all these Canadian draft picks in the CFL, they retire and they quit because they don't really get. Yeah, they got to play pro football, but they're all on special teams. They're sitting on the bench, and you're giving all these American guys their opportunity to shine up here, who no one really cares about, right? Yeah. And that's why CFL, the Canadian football fans, they can't take your league seriously because like, you draft all these players. Now you see the commissioner, and I'm saying this draft pick is a sixth overall pick in the first round. Congratulations, I'm saying. And the GM calls the draft pick. They're all like happy and everything. And then, you know what I'm saying, and you know what I'm saying. They interview the coaches and the GMs about drafting the players and everything. You know what I'm saying? And then all these guys are all playing special teams. They don't, barely any of those guys are even starting in the CFL. And a lot of those draft picks get released. It's tough for the league to take your league seriously, guys. Because your CFL draft is a crapshoot, guys. It's bullshit. Yeah, it's a crapshoot. Yeah, the reason why it's a crapshoot, because you're starting all these American guys over the Canadian players. And because the American guys have the edge over the Canadian players, a lot of these, and you're biased towards the American talent, a lot of these draft picks are not, they don't really get their opportunity to shine. A few guys get to be stars, but most of them don't get to be stars. Most of them end up on special teams, or they get reps and they're on the bench, and they're fucking draft picks. It's ridiculous, man. Even first round draft picks in the CFL, most of them play if they're defensive players, they'll play special teams, but they don't really get their opportunity to shine. All the American guys are starting players, right? Yeah. Well, a lot of CFL athletes retire. Yeah, they do. A lot of the Canadian players who get drafted, a lot of them call it quits. I'm done. This is bullshit. Yeah. because they sit on the bench or they play special teams, and then all these American guys get their opportunity to shine, who the fans in Canada don't really care that much about, and they're all these Canadian draft picks. They all sit on the bench and they play special teams. That's how it works, right? Yeah. All right, that's cold, man. I know it's sad, man. I'm saying it's sad. Yeah. The CFL's like, Ivan, the reason why we do that because the American players are a bit better. That's why you got to get rid of them, man. Get rid of the American talent, guys. You have to get rid of them. Oh. I'm sorry. So the CFL's blinded by the American talent. Obviously, they're blinded by the American talent, and they underestimate the Canadian talent. Obviously, yeah, because the Americans have the edge over the Canadian players in talent. Like, let's have most of these guys be the stars of this league. That way, we can promote this brand. Because they put on more of a show. They put on more of a show, guys, and it's more entertaining football. The people in Canada are not resonating with them. They don't really care. Like, these guys may be amazing athletes and they're putting on a show and everything, but they're not that valuable up here. No one in Canada cares about these guys because they're American and they don't even know where they even came from. They're not that valuable up here, guys, and you know it. The Canadian players are the ones who are more valuable up here than the American players. They're more valuable, but like, if we get rid of the American talent, the quality will dip. Yeah, it'll dip by maybe 6%, but I guarantee you the league revenue will go up. Obviously, because the fans in Canada can resonate with these guys more. They're Canadian. They're Canadian. Yeah. All the American players who play in the CFL, Ivan, fuck you, man. The reason why us American players are the stars in your league, Ivan, is because we're a bit better than you Canadian players. Yes, you are, guys. You may be a bit better than us Canadian players, but you're not that valuable here, and the fans don't really care that much about you guys, man. If they really did, why is the CFL have minimal growth? Like, you know what I'm saying? CFL, I'm talking to you, man. You've been promoting the heck out of all these American quarterbacks in the CFL with your TSN promo and everything. You see the panel, they talk about all these American players, you know what I'm saying? Who's the best quarterback in the CFL? And you notice how the fans, they don't really care because they can't resonate with these American guys, man. They may put on a show when they're amazing talent, but the Canadian fans are just not resonating with these guys. They don't really care that much about these guys, man. Yeah. You got some Sarah? So they do their very best. Yeah, I know on the TSN CFL panel. You know what I'm saying? You have the sport anchors. Obviously, they talk about, like, you guys don't talk about, all you guys who watch CFL. Yeah, they do their very best to promote the game and the players. Who's the best quarterback in the league and everything? You know what I'm saying? Like, you got Bo Levi Mitchell, Zach Caleros, and they talk about this amazing receiver who came from the NCAA. They talk about, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? This running back who's an amazing athlete, obviously. They're amazing players. They put on a show up here, but you notice how the fans in Canada, they don't really care about these guys. Because they're American, man. They can't resonate with them volumes. So, yeah. Am I right, 24? Yeah, Ivan, that's true. Alright, you're a genius. I don't blow your mind on the genius. I'm saying, yeah. If we have this dilemma, we either have to sacrifice quality for value or value for quality. Yeah, those are your two choices. You have to sacrifice quality for value, or you sacrifice value for quality. It's up to you. Obviously. You either have a dip in quality, but the value of your brand will go up because you're not promoting the best players in Canada who are actually valuable up here. or you keep the American talent and the quality. It's a bit better quality. It's more entertaining football up here, but the value of your league is not that valuable. Honestly, why is the CFL not that valuable compared to the other big sport leagues? Two reasons: because football is not that popular in Canada compared to like hockey, obviously, compared to the states like the NFL. That's number one. And the second reason why the CFL is not that valuable is because they're promoting the Canadian Football League with the American talent. That's why the Canadian football brand is not that valuable right now. Because what you're doing, CFL, you think you're going to grow the league by promoting the Canadian Football League with the American talent, people from a different country in the Canadian Football League. That's your business strategy to grow the league by promoting the Canadian Football League with the American talent in Canada. And I know why the CFL does that, because they're blinded by the American talent. Yeah, they're such amazing players. I think they put on the show, let's promote the heck out of all these guys in the CFL, and yet your league has no growth, guys. There's no growth in your league because no one cares about these guys. Go hang them some, yeah. No one cares about these American guys. There we go. Yeah. All right, when you say they don't care about them, do you mean like they don't care at all? No. Like a lot of fans in Canada who watch CFL, all these CFL American stars, they know them and everything, and they love them and everything, but they don't resonate with them. That's my point. So because they don't resonate with them and they're American players, they don't really know that much about them. They don't really care that much about them that much. Like they care and they love them and everything, but they don't resonate with them. They don't. Yeah, this guy's a star. He's an amazing player. He's killing the league, but he's American. I don't really know that much about him. I don't really care about him. Yeah, they don't really care that much about these guys, man. Yeah, man. Don't hate him. Yeah. Because they're American, they can't resonate with them. Yeah. They're American, they can't resonate with the players. Obviously. Do the American players who come up to Canada and play football, do they look down on the best Canadian players? Yeah, they do, obviously, because they're a bit better than them, obviously. Like, yeah, all these like best Canadian players who are drafted to CFL like are barely even stars, and us American players who come up here, we're the stars of the league and everything. You know what I'm saying? So we look down on the Canadians a little bit. But the Canadians also look down on the American players too, because even though the American players have the edge over the Canadian talent, the Canadian players in the CFL, they know they're actually the best talent in Canada and they're more valuable up here. And they know even though these guys are amazing players and everything, they're your NFL rejects. So they also look down on the American players too. So they both look down at each other. It's actually funny. I'm saying, yeah. All the American players I have, that's actually funny. I'm saying, yeah. So you want the best talent in Canada to compete? Yes. Have the best talent in Canada to compete in pro football. Yeah. So you want to get rid of the American talent. All the Canadian players playing in the CFL right now, keep them in the league, and then you draft players, and you also have unsigned free agent players, and you have them compete in training camp, and you have to put them to better training, and this is how you go to the league. Yeah, but I think the quality will dip a little bit. Yeah, it'll dip a little bit, guys, but the value of the league will go up. But we won't pop the league. I know what I'm doing. But I guarantee you all the coaches and GMs disagree. I don't think that would work, man. I think the league would even make less money to do that. So I beg to differ, man. Like Nathan Rourke is a starting quarterback for the BC Lions, and he's pretty much the face of the CFL, and the fans love him a lot more than even Zach Caleros. and bully Levi Mitchell. Why? Because he's Canadian, man. No one really cares about these American guys, man. You guys know it. No one really cares about all these American guys who come up here in Canada, man. They love them and everything when they're CFL stars, but even then they don't really care about them because they can't resonate with these guys. Like, they're just guys who come out of nowhere from the States. They didn't see these guys play in NCAA. They don't know anything about these guys. They're from a different territory, a different country. They don't know anything about these guys. You know what I'm saying? They're putting on a show. I know, guys. They put on a show. The American players are the ones who put on the show, obviously, in the CFL. And they make the game more exciting and entertaining, obviously. But, like, no one in Canada cares about these guys, man. They just don't care that much about them. Because they're American. They can't resonate with them. That's what I'll tell the committee. Don't hate them. It's like, yeah. Yeah. Hey, it was Israel who guys saw the show about the CFL. Stay tuned. I might make a video later on evening. Is I around saying peace. Oh, yeah, I'm saying who guys was a major by the mirror. Peace out.